Yesterday, DC Comics revealed the identity of its new Black Batman that's going to be a part of its Future State comics in January and February. And this new Black Batman is supposed to be Tim Fox, one of the sons of Lucius Fox, the CEO who runs Wayne Enterprises when Bruce Wayne is out fighting crime in Gotham City. Now, I said that there were two sons because you have Luke Fox right now, who currently is in the role of Batwing, and now they're bringing back Tim Fox, the other son of Lucius Fox, who was around back in the 70s. Now, I believe that they're trying to do this in an effort to make an organic transition from Bruce Wayne to this new Tim Fox character as part of their future state, but that whole structure falls completely apart as related to trying to transition from the white Batman, Bruce Wayne, to the black Batman, Tim Fox. And the reason why everything falls apart is because what motivates Bruce to go out here and fight crime is integral to Batman's story and Batman's lore. Now, your Bruce Wayne's main reason for going out to stop crime in Gotham City is because his parents were murdered in Crime Alley. And it was him being traumatized as an 8-year old boy and seeing his parents murdered before his very eyes that drives Bruce to become a master as related to numerous forms of martial arts, numerous forms of police procedure, and numerous forms of investigative and other techniques such as driving and piloting planes. All of those things come from Bruce's motivation to ensure that no other child loses their parents the way that he lost his parents. So without that there to motivate the Luke Fox character, it just does not work structurally. Moreover, your Luke Fox, no matter how athletic he is, does not have the training, not Luke Fox, Tim Fox, doesn't have the extensive training of a Bruce Wayne, and he doesn't, again, have that motivation to go out here and fight crime in the same driven way that Bruce Wayne does. So, in order to really make a compelling Batman story, as I see it, you got to have Bruce Wayne, because what makes Bruce Wayne go out here and want to fight crime is his passion for ensuring that no other 8-year old boy ever goes through what he went through. And the only thing that probably comes close is what happened to Terry McGinnis, who was 16 years old, or 17, I believe. And again, he was a young boy, teenage boy, who saw his father murdered by the guy Six in Batman Beyond. And that was the other thing that drove him to become the Batman of the future. Now, your DC Comics wants us to believe that Tim Fox can be the next Batman, but I don't believe he has what qualifies him to be the next Batman. The next Batman, as I see it, will always be Terry McGinnis, because Terry McGinnis has a similar motivation to go out here and fight criminals like Bruce Wayne, and it doesn't hurt that he was his biological son as related to that final epilogue in Justice League Unlimited. So when I look at this Tim Fox and this so-called future state, I really see a desperate attempt by DC Comics to try to promote diversity inside of their comics, but not really thinking about how this is going to work organically as related to story. What this is a reskinning of the Batman character, and as related to changing his race, but not understanding you need to change the content of the character, because when you do that, when you change the race, you change the content of the character and you change the story. And when you change the story of the character, all of the missions and things that motivate the character to participate in their mission change. And instead of us getting Batman, we're not getting the Batman character. We're getting a completely different character. Now, I know that your DC Comics wants to try to promote so called diversity in between the pages of their comics, but if they really want to promote diversity in the pages of their comics, then why don't they go out here and hire black comic professionals like myself to go out here and write their stories? I mean, there are plenty of qualified black writers and artists out there, and we'd love to create characters and have them as part of DC Comics if we could get properly compensated for doing so. So, as I see it, if you really want to promote diversity, don't give me a black Batman, because there's only one Batman. He was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, and he's a white guy named Bruce Wayne. No, if you really want to promote so-called diversity, how about bringing John Haynes to the DC universe? John Haynes, a black character created by myself, and having that character stand out here and be their own character. As I see it, if you really want to promote real diversity, how about allowing black creators to work at DC Comics and create black characters and create black characters with their own stories, their own missions, their own motivations, and their own rogues galleries? I mean, if you really want to promote diversity, give us an original black character, and that was something that DC could have easily done with this with their own Batman family, because we already had a black character in Orpheus, and we also had the new Azrael, who was already black. So we really did not need to have a Tim Fox as part of Future State when you already had existing characters like Orpheus, like Azrael, like the Signal. You had already had existing characters, and because they're not trying to use those existing characters, this is why many comic fans see Future State as nothing more than a desperate attempt to try to copy all new, all different Marvel, which was all about promoting identity politics instead of trying to focus on crafting solid stories featuring new original characters. And just like your all new, all different Marvel failed, I believe Future State is going to fail, because most comic fans out here, they want their characters to be true to what the original creators made them to be. Most comic fans see through this whole Tim Fox as Batman, because we can see the passive aggressive racism directed towards us. I find it interesting that the white Batman can go out here and show the lower half of his face, but the black Batman has to have his whole face covered. And the black Batman having his whole face covered is some sort of covert racism, as I see it, because passively you're promoting the idea of a black Batman as related to diversity, but aggressively you're hiding his face to say that he is not the real Batman like the white Batman is, because the white Batman showing his face is considered iconic, but the black Batman is considered secondary, like John Paul Valley, because he's hiding his face. So I can see where they're taking a passive-aggressive jab with this so-called next Batman, and I can see where they're throwing a middle finger up at black comic fans with this so-called black Batman, because you're not giving us a character with his own tragedy, with his own story, and with his own mission and motivation. No, you're giving us a black guy in a hand-me-down costume, and I believe black readers deserve better than a guy in a hand-me-down costume. I mean, this is the kind of thing that annoyed me when I was watching the CW's Arrow, back when they put John Diggle in Oliver Queen's hand-me-down costume, and then went out of their way over a course of episodes to show us how your John Diggle just couldn't be Green Arrow, and then that led to the ultimate slap in the face to John Diggle, where he got what I call the ultimate N-word moment, where your John Diggle, what happened to him was he was told that what makes about Oliver Queen gave him the speech about um, what makes me Green Arrow is related to me, and it was like a middle finger up at John Diggle after all the years he had spent supporting him and working with him, to be told that what makes Green Arrow is special to him. And that speech was the ultimate pimp hand to your John Diggle. And that's why I don't really like these whole idea of hand-me-down characters, because ever since I saw the first hand-me-down character with Jim Rhodes in Iron Man, I see that as just a way of saying this guy just is not fit to fit this role, and he's just somebody we see as temporary, not somebody as iconic as it is. And that's the one reason why I say I create characters like John Haynes, is because I want readers to have a black male character who is all his own, and a black male character who has his own mission for fighting the bad guys, his own motivation for fighting the bad guys, and has his own story that is distinct to him. Because I believe black readers and comic fans out here, you deserve a black character who has his own story, not somebody who has somebody's own hand-me-down costume on and has somebody's own hand-me-down mission and is trying to live up to the mission of some white man. Why? And I have to ask a critical question. Why does a black man have to live up to the standards of a white man when he could be out here carving his own path and making his own place and becoming the kind of hero that meets his standard? Why is he out here trying to be the black Batman and the second Batman, as I see it, or the third Batman, when he can be the first John Haynes? I mean, why would I want to be the second or third Batman when I could be the first John Haynes and be distinct and on my own with my own stories? That's a critical question I have to ask many black comic fans out here. I mean, why should you settle for Marvel or DC's second best when you can have the very best from a place like SJS Direct, which gives you a strong black masculine heterosexual black male hero with his own stories, his own mission, his own motivation, and gives you a reason to care about his mission and motivation? I mean, why should you settle for a second token character as related to so-called diversity when you can have actual diversity of thought with a distinct story from something like the John Haynes series? That's the question. Another critical question I have to ask many comic fans out here. Why should you settle for second best with a DC future state, which could easily be wiped out as part of the DC Omniverse, and it would practically be erased from continuity, because this will never be presented as the actual future of the DC universe. Another editor in a few years is going to say it's an alternate future, and they're going to make it say that it's less than. Again, why should you settle for less when you can have the best from a place like SJS Direct, and you can have stories that are going to be canon and remain canon as long as I'm still publishing them? I mean, why should you do that? Why should you go to pay for a future state book with a reskinned second best Batman when you can get the very best as related to a John Haynes story, or the story of any other black creator out here? I mean, if the whole, and it comes down to these companies, they want the black dollar and they want to promote diversity to get the black dollar, but then they want to give black people second best characters and that are going to be considered knockoffs with two-dimensional stories, like Miles Morales. From what I saw in Into the Spider-Verse and Miles Morales Spider-Man stories, these characters will never be seen as the iconic versions, and they'll always be held to a standard and seen as second best. Again, I wouldn't settle for second best as related to a black character as related to today, because you have so many options. I mean, So many options out here. You can go get old milestone books with Icon and Static, and you can get many of these great comics out here from many of these black independent comic creators, and you can get so much great content out here. So why should you when we have a great future for black creators out here, settle for DC's mediocre future state with its black Batman, who is not really Batman? He's just a guy who's putting on the bat suit in order to get black dollars and then give us not the actual stories that we want. I mean, as I see it, if I want Batman stories, give me Bruce Wayne. But if I want to see a great black character, I would rather have people go out here and buy John Haynes stories and get distinct, unique stories that feature John Haynes, because that's better, as I see it, for people to get something from a black creator that is already original and is original concept, then go out here and have to deal with a hand-me-down character and a hand-me-down concept from a company that is passively promoting diversity but is aggressively pushing the same old racism that has been a part of the comic book industry for the last 80 years. Now, if you want to pick up some action-packed African-American adventures like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, or the John Haynes series, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos and be able to publish more books in the John Haynes series, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.